Hello everyone, welcome back to MixBus TV, mixing and mastering tutorials on YouTube. Today a quick video for you on how to make the dynamic of your reverbs a little more interesting. So when you send an element to a reverb, you usually EQ maybe the signal going in and you EQ the signal going out, and that's pretty standard. But what about the dynamic of your reverb? Usually you don't touch it, is going to be pretty much flat. So we're going to take a look on how you can manipulate the dynamic of your reverbs to make them a little more interesting. This is a technique that you can use on pretty much anything you put a reverb on, whether it's going to be a guitar, synth, a piano. It works for snare too, but specifically I do like it a lot on lead vocals, especially when you have a song where the vocal has a lot of space. We have a vocal here and we are gonna play it with its effect on.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Let's hear it, just the reverb. Okay, so the dynamic of our reverb, as I said, is flat. It has nothing going on. The vocals is slightly filtered going into the reverb. And then we have our deverb, and these are the settings. You can take a look, nothing special. And then we have a little bit of EQ after the reverb, and you can take a look at this too. So what are we going to do to make the dynamic of our reverb a little more interesting? We open a compressor, and let me introduce you one of my favorite compressor of all times is Sonox Dynamics. If you have to have one compressor only, this should be it, because it can do not only anything that you can possibly ask a compressor to do, but it sounds just amazing. Amazing. We will have a video in which I will walk you through this plugin because it just sounds so good. It is the choice of the professionals, and there's a reason because of it. But let's go back to our reverb. So what we want to do, we want the compressor to duck the level of the reverb when the vocals, the dry vocals, is singing. So how we do this, we send our dry vocal to an aux bus. In this case I call it Vox Sidechain up here. Then on our compressor we select next to the key sign the same bus, Vocal Sidechain, okay? And then we click on the key input button here so that the compressor activates the external sidechain, meaning the compressor is now being triggered by the dry vocals up here, but it's compressing the reverb signal, okay? So the dry vocals is the trigger, the external sidechain, but the compressor is compressing our reverb track. Let's take a listen to just the reverb without the compression happening.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay? So, settings are nothing special. Just use settings that fits with the song, especially the release. I like the attack pretty fast for this. I like a soft knee that in this compressor you can activate here. You can take a look at the knee here. And I like the release to be somewhat in time with the song. It depends on how much space you have. So let's unbypass our compressor, and ratio is 4:1. Compress is activated, and we lower our threshold until the dry vocals, again, will trigger the compressor, which will compress our reverb.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare
Okay? So as you can hear, the compressor, if you listen to this track by itself right now, it will sound weird because the compressor is reacting very fast to the dry vocals and ducking the level of the reverb. The result is when the singing is happening, the vocals will not be that wet. But when the vocals stop singing, the reverb will come up slowly and it will be more noticeable. Let's use a little bit of makeup gain and here with the vocal. With the compressor.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, let's hear without it.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, let's listen to this last part. You can hear the reverb when the compressor is activated. The reverb, it pokes out between words and is a very nice effect. It's moving along with the vocals. The dynamic changes and it's way more interesting. Without it, this last part.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
With.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
You hear how it breathes when the vocal stops. The reverb's coming out is getting wider and bigger, and is a very, very cool effect in my opinion, because when the vocals is singing, is not so wet, so it's very intelligible, it's up front, but between words and between pauses you have this space coming around the vocals, which is very nice. Let's hear it again one more time.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Without it.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, so let's hear the whole mix. Let's activate everything.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, without it.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, so the reverb is just more flat and is somehow washing out a little bit the vocals. Now, it's not even better or worse. I actually like the reverb in this mix and this vocal for this song, but it's just an option. So experiment with it and see what you can come up with. Now we're gonna take a look at our second option. So our second option is the opposite of compression, which is upward compression. What we want in this case is the vocals, the dry vocals, to boost the level of our reverb when it's singing, so the details and the reverb in between words is not so apparent, but you still get the wider sound, the bigger sound that a long tail reverb will give you without the long tail, which is more often than not too obvious. So let's take a look how we do it using FabFilter Pro G. We send our dry vocals to a monobus, our vocal sidechain. On the Pro G, next to the key sign, we select the same bus, which is vocal sidechain. We open the expert panel and we activate the external sidechain. And this way, our Pro G will see and will be triggered by the dry vocal, but it will boost the level of our reverb track. And in order to do so, you need to go here and select the upward algorithm. You have classic, clean, vocal, guitar, upward, and ducking. This way, your threshold is the same. Our range control will set the maximum amount the level will be boosted. So in this case, 16 dB. And the ratio is the same as the compressor. So 3:1 in this case, so maximum ratio. These are just the settings that I used for this example, not necessarily the best one. Once again, experiment with them. And the same for attack and release. Let's hear our vocal with just the reverb on without any processing.
You make it hard, I wanna stop and stare behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Reverb without any processing, and then we'll activate our Pro G. On.
Behind those eyes, what else you got in there? 'Cause you make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Hear how the tail goes away faster and is not in the way when the singer stops singing. Let's just listen to this last bit with the vocal, with the processing on.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Without it.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, so not only you have more tail without the upward compression on, you have more noticeable tail when the singing is stopping, but you don't even have that much space around the vocals when it's singing. Listen to it without it.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Tail is obvious. Reverb and space during the singing is not. With?
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay. I do find it very nice because the vocals open up when it's singing, but the tail gets out of the way when it stops singing. Let's hear the whole mix with the processing on.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Without.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
There's a lot of difference. You know, the vocals is drier when it sings, but the tail is very noticeable. And totally the opposite with this upward compression on our reverb on. The vocals is wider and bigger during the singing, but you cannot hear the tail almost at all. So quickly, let's take a listen to both processing. This one is the compression. So the level is lowered by the compressor when the vocal sings.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, and the tails comes up when it stops singing.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
And it's drier when it sings. The other way is the opposite. The vocals, it gets wetter and wider and has more space when it sings. The tails is less noticeable. With?
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Without?
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Okay, let's compare the two. Compression.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
Upward compression.
Make me feel like I should learn to stop time.
So, this is it for today. I hope you liked this technique to make your reverbs a little more dynamic and interesting. You can use this on pretty much anything you want to put a reverb on. As I always advise, experiment with this and have fun. And I showed you these techniques on reverbs, but they work very well on delays too, so make sure you try it. If you like the video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.